Hey everyone. White Dragon Ling. I was super excited to get her yesterday. I actually went through the hassle to level her up in the unit experience dungeon with some experience boost gear, and yeah, I got her to level 20. But then I realized still doesn't do anything because I can't pot her. So I ended up not using her at all yesterday. I basically wasted about, I don't know, 500 energy to do so. Could have done better things with the energy, I feel like. But here we are. Let's check her out. What she can do, what she can't do, what future units will do better than her, and more. So the overview. Ling in her base form is a debuffer. She can do both. Mainly a supporter. I should probably have stated supporter, but she does debuffs and buffs to the party alike. In Brave Shift, she's a true supporter with 2 cool imbues and amplifications and a lot of more things. And she's also a finishing unit, but not an LB finisher in the traditional sense, but more so an ability finisher. You will see what I mean by that in just a minute. So let's check her out in game on our favorite target dummy. I'll make a quick cut and enjoy the next about 7 minutes of showcase. Alright, we are back at our favorite punching bag, the training dummy. Now technically I could use Morgana. I really don't have anything to do with the Raid Orbs or Clash of Whales Orbs right now, but I feel like let's take our time and take a look at White Dragon Ling on the training dummy, because she doesn't really deal any damage, so to speak. She is a decent DPS, as you will see, but yeah, she's not Arden level of good. So yeah, if you're looking for a build, this Ling isn't really geared. As you can see, I leveled her up yesterday through dungeon farming. So she has quite a bit of EXP gear. But yeah, Ling. So let's start off with her limit burst, right? So this one increases defense and spirit by 280, but the real kicker here is this is a 55% general mitigation for the team. It's super cool for tanks that, I mean, most tanks, they have 75% general mitigation these days, but it's still a very, very nice thing to have. For example, if your tank dies and you have to re-raise him or her, this is perfect. I mean, you're getting this 55% general mitigation right off the bat. You also give them a 4k barrier, and you also cast auto revive on them should they die again. So one of the greatest skills in her kit is her base LB. Depending on her LB gauge, now this is already all full, she has a few cool things. She can 75 break, which is kind of right? But she also has half decent breaks, as you can see. She has a sword in peril, which I personally like, 25%, same as Noctis and Arden. So to some degree she can, short sword, I should have read this correctly. She has a 25% dagger in peril, I'm so sorry. Dagger in peril, they should really state daggers. And Zidane, for example, is gonna love this. Another thing I'd like to mention is all the defensive skills she has. So fortifying movements, for example, there's a 45% physical mitigation, which is very sweet. It also cures all enfeeblements and status ailments, especially defense reduction, which is pretty cool. And on the flip side, she has the same thing for magic tanks, or magic damage reduction in general, 45%, and SPR reduction, movement. Another thing, transcendent performance. Her grant is 2 uses per battle is even better. It's 50% to both physical and magic damage reduction. It is a 50% general mitigation, 5k barrier, and she fills her own LB gauge by half. It's crazy good. This is roll compression to the max to some degree, and you gotta give this to her. She also has 85% breaks on her cooldown for 3 turns. which also unlocks a triple cast, which I think this is the one thing I do want to point out. The only thing missing from White Dragon Ling's kit is an innate triple skill or triple cast, because she innately has only double cast, which I feel like it's just so 2019 to early 2020. Ever since the release of Neo Vision units, we've gotten triple cast right off the bat. Why can't Ling have this too? It wouldn't break her, it wouldn't make her suddenly super OP. It's just quality of life. Why do we have to unlock a triple cast on a supporting unit? I don't think this is a good idea in general. I mean, take Sylvie for example. She has triple cast unlocked right off the bat. Why can't Ling? Why does a 7-star upgraded unit have this over a Neo Vision base unit? Other than that, yeah, she does a lot of things based on a morale bar. And Dance of Revival is one of those skills. If your morale bar reaches a certain threshold, and this threshold is if you're doing badly or the boss tries to overwhelm you, Dance of Revival comes into play and provides a 320% all stat buff, which is pretty sweet. Dance of Ferocity is the other side of the line. You are overpowering the boss. The boss's morale is quite down and you're taking over the fight. That is when Dance of Ferocity comes into play. Now, if you're wondering what this border here around moving dances, that means that it's specifically tied for morale battles. As you can see, it restores morale. It's very little though, with 50 value, but it's still something. And if you're wondering why this is such a weird border, it's mainly a morale battle thing, but you can use it outside. So let's go into the Brave Shift, where she is still a buffer or supporter, but she also can DPS. So her limit burst, pretty much the same in terms of stats, 280%, but she also buffs 200% LB damage to the team. And what I personally like is 5 stacks of Mirage, which is crazy good. Venera has 4 on her cooldown. Technically speaking, if you were able to boost Ling's LB every turn, you could spam this literally. Technically you won't need to, because 5 stacks of Mirage is already quite good. Other than that, she retains a lot of the abilities, as you can see. She gets Passionate Performance, Morale, no, it's MP fill and LB fill, which is very cool. She has double Mirage stacks. But the cool thing about her, I personally like it, is Fire Imbue, Fire Amplify, and Fire Imperil. So 120 Fire Imperil and 25% Fire Amp and Imbue for the team. And the same applies to the light part of things. Now keep in mind, regarding Fire and Light implications, we will have Cetra Arif soon, and she is way better than this. I believe she has 40% to both. So that is one of the things that Ling gets power crept, but the USP, the unique selling point of Ling, are these stances, the Hunter, Mechanic, Assassin and Medium stance. Those are her 150% killer buffs. So 150% to Beast, 150% to Humans, Machina and Reapers. Now conveniently, these also reduce damage by these 4 types, but in Dark Visions, we don't really care about the damage reduction. Ideally, we don't want to take any damage at all anyway. So yeah, and Dragon's Bite is her stacking ability. It goes up to 220, and if you use her cooldown, Rallying Dance, if I'm not totally mistaken. I know she has a cooldown that can... Oh, it's Dragoon Dancer, excuse me. Her Grandis can increase the power of Dragon's Bite infinitely by 50x. So at the end of the day, this is a 270x, or if you triple cast this, it's an 810x attack. Rallying Dance is more or less LB fill for the party, LB fill raid for the party, and her triple unlock in Brave Shift. So again, awesome kit, super strong supporter. She does a lot of things, and especially for Clash of Wills, she is one of the best units you can have. And depending on the content, it's very, very much different how you're gonna use her. But yeah, that's all about it. I also have Louise in here already, but we'll talk about Louise in tomorrow's video in detail. So much for a little sneak peek of Ling. You will see her in use tomorrow when I go for the level 99 Vestige of Morgana in Clash of Wills. But until then, we shall continue with the unit review. So back to the PowerPoint presentation. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that little sneak peek. Again, we will see more of Ling in my video for Clash of Wills tomorrow. I'm definitely gonna use her. She's in my cap team for the fight. So let's check out her Trustmaster and Super Trustmaster. Trustmaster is a materia at 40 attack, 40% attack and 40% HP. And it also provides 50% LB fill rate. Now, from my point of view, I would have preferred a materia that is tied to daggers, say 100% LB fill rate if equipped with a short sword or dagger. That would have been better in my opinion. I mean, we also got Noppi's Trustmaster reward last week, and hers is actually 100%. So I feel like, especially because White Dragon Ling revolves around LB fill so much, this materia should have been a 100% fill rate materia. But oh well, here we are. It's still okay. It's still better than the Heroes Vow materials we have. So I'll take it for what it is. It's a good materia, not outstanding. It's just good. Her Super Trustmaster is a dagger at 190 attack, 150 LB fill rate, and 20% HP, which I feel like is eh. But since she does have a few abilities that hit herself, it's okay to have it on the weapon. But yeah, honestly, the 150 fill rate is great. Another thing is, this is the second highest attack dagger in the game. It is the third highest if you count the Chronicle weapon from Rakesh Fief Zidane, which, if it's maxed, it's 206. But the baseline Rakesh Fief Zidane Chronicle weapon is at 170 something. So yeah, especially if you also put this weapon through Item World with an additional LB fill rate rare, this is going to be absolutely crazy. And if you are lucky enough to have two of this, it's going to be super easy to max out the 1000% LB fill rate. Spoilers though, best in slot for Ling is actually one Rakesh Fief Zidane STMR and her own dagger. That is the better option. Unless you're using neither the materia, the Trustmaster, nor the Super Trustmaster, I feel like you're missing out a little bit on her passive, which is quite decent for herself. So I would suggest to always use the dagger, but there is an option to use double Zidane STMR and just a materia. It really depends on what you're fighting and what your goal is with Ling. So I can't actually give you a straight go-to answer here because it highly depends on the content you are fighting. All right, let's check out her vision card. I do have the animation also, which is super, super cute. But yeah, the vision card is one of the best we've seen, probably the best, even because it has 115 base attack at level 10. And the next best thing is that it has absolutely no strings attached to the passives. This is not an error. Ling's vision card does not require anything. It just requires you to wear it and you will get 50% attack, 40% HP on top. The HP, let's neglect them, but 50% attack, it is a little bit low, but still, for what you're getting, this is amazing. And for the next few weeks, this is our best vision card for physical DPS. I know there is Tifa's vision card and there's also Sephiroth's vision card, which both power creep this hard. However, both Sephiroth's and Tifa's vision card are tied to Final Fantasy VII units. This one is not too tied to anything. So it really depends on who you're gonna want to use this on, because chances are it's going to be the best option you have. But yeah, it's still one of the best cards. Yeah, it does get power crap, but it's still, even then, it's going to be a superb and magnificent card nonetheless. All right, let's check out the damage calculations. This should look very familiar to you. I don't like changing things up, especially when it comes to comparability. Let's just keep it constant and as I like to say as an academic, ceteris paribus, meaning holding all else constant and just changing one thing. And that one thing we changed is we added Ling to the party or to the comparison. So again, let me just briefly recap. A 90% defense break, everyone has a 300% attack buff. We are using, or we are assuming, Zidane's STMR, which is now fixed. So that is actually a possible assumption and a model that will actually work, because LB by 300 boosted is a thing now. We have a win team, as you can imagine, by the 104 amplification for Noppy, Ling, Arden, Zidane, Last Gen and the Elrics, and since Noctis has his light locked jump, he only gets half of the benefit, so he's at 74 combined with the Dark Vision bonus. We are also facing a Dark Vision boss who has a 22.5k defense, 60% passive defense and 60% elemental resistance. Now I am aware that future Dark Vision bosses will lose massively in terms of passive defense. We will drop down to 10%, and Sinsar told me that the latest one, the Vision World one, even has 0 passive defense. So that means the 90% defense break gets even better over time. But because I'm not a fan of huge numbers, because they really inflate values. They are at some point hard to read, hard to grasp, honestly. So I will keep it at this value, and maybe if enough people want to see the actual values for actual Dark Visions bosses that we will have at the current time, maybe I will adjust it. But yeah, the numbers, they are going to get crazy. So keep that in mind, and they are getting harder to read. We are also using varying amounts of killers, entirely depending on the gear and what is possible with each unit. But what we're not doing is we are not using killer types that are beneficial to the unit. For example, Last Gen is super good against dragons, but I am not building Last Gen towards a dragon fight. Last Gen is built towards a demon, and so is White Dragon Ling. White Dragon Ling has super good killers towards Reaper's human, etc, etc, but I also built her towards a demon because she isn't good against demons innately. Other than that, 130 Wind Imperil, 125 Wind Light Imperil for Noctis, 25% Dragon Sword Imperil, which is going to benefit Zidane heavily. Alright, so this is White Dragon Ling's gear. Now the builder at the time I did this yesterday wasn't updated yet, so Thornberry's knife is not actually what I used to calculate the damage. I used her own STMR. In this case, you would use her own TMR to get to the 400% attack, and you also use her own vision card. Alright, this is Norpy's gear. You should be familiar with this from my Norpy review. These are the competitors. Nothing changed here as well, so all of it should look very familiar to you if you've watched previous unit reviews of mine. So let's check out the damage comparison. And as expected, Ling is at the bottom here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's bottom damage. Yeah, 731 million damage on average with her build. It shouldn't come to you as a surprise. One of the few reasons is her modifiers aren't that great. For example, take Noppy, she has a 1110 ability modifier, which is a lot higher, 300 modifiers higher than Ling. And rest assured, if Ling had the same strong modifier, she would be at or above Noppy damage. However, you should also keep in mind Ling is not a DPS first and foremost. She is a supporting unit, and a support unit that deals this amount of damage is something to take note of. You won't use her for main DPS, like I said, but in Dark Visions, for example, if you are facing a Reaper, a Human, a Beast, or a Machina boss, you will most certainly use Ling instead of Mastermind Zon, because he has no place if you have an AoE killer buff, and she will deal so much more damage than Mastermind Zon, actually dealing almost 1 billion damage on her own in a Dark Visions final boss area. That is something that's chef's kiss, actually. And she will do wonders and getting us ever so close to the 10 billion cap. Is it going to be reachable with Ling? Probably not, but it's going to make this a little bit easier to get there and to give you a higher score. At least in the top 100 or even outside the top 100, but the top 100 is going to be decided by EX levels more than the units themselves. But still, for a supporting unit, that is actually amazing damage. Much like in the same vein as Cacteria, for example. She was also a supporting unit mainly, but she dealt very, very good damage for that. So yeah, how does she fare in the meta? You might have guessed it from my comments throughout. She is a great support unit with very strong buffs. Not only in Clash of Wills with her 320% buffs, but also for trials, very much for trials, with her 50% physical magical mitigation, the 55% general mitigation. I mean, she's going to be Behemoth's best friend because Behemoth's mitigation is bad, and she can fix this, for example. Keep in mind though that some of her gimmicks, mainly the amplification and the stat buffs, they get wildly power crept by Cetra Descendant Aerith. Like I mentioned before, Cetra Aerith has 400% stats to the whole team, and she also has a stronger light amplification, which is 40%, for example. On the other hand, Ling does so many things that Cetra Aerith doesn't do. Where Cetra Aerith has the 35% drawdown peril, which in JP is locked behind EX plus 3, we don't know yet how it's going to be handled in global. Ling has the unique ability of Dagger Imperil, and she's the only one to have it at this value. Cacteria has 10%, but 25% obviously is better for Zidane, and Zidane is gonna love her so much because usually or originally the plan was to have Hawkeye plus Zidane do combined things, because Hawkeye and Zidane, they are actually perfect complementaries to each other. What Zidane doesn't is what Hawkeye excels at, and what Hawkeye doesn't is where Zidane excels at. So I feel like it's a huge pity that we're not getting Trials of Mana, because to some degree Ling does not do what Hawkeye does. And I feel that is kind of sad. But well, I mean, it's not downplaying anything here. The 25% Dagger Emperor, personally, I'm super happy that she got it. This was one of my main wishes for Ling. We got it. I'm super happy about it, and it makes her so much better for outside Clash of Wills. It's going to make her very, very usable in Trials and especially in Dark Visions too. Clash of Wills, I mean, she's made for this, so actually she's great for that. And she's also a great unit for Dark Visions, like I mentioned, due to her AoE killers, Reaper, Machina, Human, and Beast. And for the same reason, plus the great supporting skills, excellent pick for Trials. So yeah, should you pull? If you want to score high in Clash of Wills, you will absolutely need her. We are probably not going to see a team that scores super high that does not include Ling, because she does so many things you really want on your team. But she's also a great unit to have in Dark Visions and Trials, and some parts of her are getting power crept hard by Cetra Aerith, mainly the amplification and the stat buffs. But still, she is going to have a place or slot in your team due to her killer buffs, regardless. So yeah, and also she is the better of the two for Clash of Wills, and between Louise and Ling, that is. And I will explain why this is the case in my Louise video that is coming up tomorrow. So yeah, should you pull? I think it's a yes. Yes, you should. Even though you're saving up for Tifa and Sephiroth, I know all of you guys are. You probably should pull for her because she's going to do things that neither Tifa, nor Sephiroth, nor Aerith are gonna do, and that makes her kind of a standout unit that you kind of want to have on your team and at your disposal. So yeah, thank you all for watching. This is the end of the review. I hope you guys liked it. I took a little bit more time to explain things and my thoughts in general on Ling because she has a very complicated kit, and I tried my best to show you how she works, what you need to keep in mind, etc, etc. So thank you all for watching. Have a nice rest of the Friday evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're from. And we'll see each other tomorrow for my Louise unit review. Bye bye.